This week on Chuckload of Comics, Fox's Dark Phoenix, quote, "It's terrible." Also, Bumblebee 2, currently in development over at Paramount, and we're giving you what we think are the biggest snubs of the 2019 Academy Awards. All that plus a really big C2E2 update right here on Chuckload of Comics. Hey guys, welcome to Chuckload of Comics, your weekly source for nerd news and comic book reviews. Shauna, how's it going over there?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, YouTube audience?
I'm hoping they're quite well. A lot of people out there. We're up to, I think, 800-something subscribers.
Woohoo!
So
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for joining the Chuckload of Comics family. If you're watching the show, take a second, click that subscribe button. We're here every single week breaking down all the fun stuff that happened.
We're a loving family over here at Chuckload of Comics.
We are. We have a cat you can meet. Chuckload of Comics is brought to you every single week by the guys at Cold War Games, Arts, and Entertainment. Do you like playing games based on comic book properties?
Oh my gosh,
check them out at coldwar.us. Their new game, Fight Your Friends, we've been talking a lot about that game. We are unveiling. We're doing a world premiere of a card from the game Fight Your Friends. Every single week. This week's card is a character called Vesper. Vesper is a character in the indie comic Plume. Plume is a web series. It's a Western adventure about Vesper Grey and her supernatural guardian Corix.
Sweet. I love Westerns and supernatural. That's great.
I know. Western webcomic. It's by K. Lynn Smith. You can find it from Devil's Due Entertainment. If you want to read this awesome book, Plume, you can check it out at plumecomic.com.
So cool.
Fight Your Friends just launched their website this week.
What?
FightYourFriends.net is now live.
Awesome.
We've been talking a lot about this game, but we haven't been giving you all the details of the gameplay. Well, now you can find it out at FightYourFriends.net.
So cool. And I'm also assuming you can find out the different artists that are working on the cards, too.
You can.
Sure.
What Fight Your Friends is they've got all these indie comic books. Kind of the purpose of the game is to introduce new comic book readers to the indie comic book universe, which is great. So every single card is going to feature a character from an indie comic book.
What a cool concept.
I know.
These
it's
guys
very,
are so
very
smart
cool.
over at Cold War.
Yeah, check them out. FightYourFriends.net. So before we break down the awesome stuff that happened this week, just take a look at that sidebar.
Oh my gosh.
Lots of cool stuff we're going to get into this week. Your required reading for the week.
Required.
If you look at that table over there, we've got Guardians of the Galaxy #1, Avengers issue 13, and The Immortal Hulk issue 12. 3 spectacular comic books, guys.
You are not exaggerating when you say
Shauna,
that.
your favorite of those 3?
My favorite by far was Guardians. What
Really?
a fun book. It was so cool. It's Donny Cates and Jeff Shaw teaming back up
Back
together
again.
Oh, it's so beautifully illustrated, and the story is awesome.
It is. Definitely pick out Guardians of the Galaxy #1, just launched this week. And if you've read any of these books, leave us a comment down in the comment section. Let us know what you thought about any of these books. They're all spectacular. Put them on your pull list. Add them to your weekly reading. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and break down this week's nerd news. All right, guys, so this first story comes from the guys over at the John Campea Show. Check them out. Check out John Campea on YouTube. On their weekly show, The Weekly Hero, John was sitting down with his co-host Robert Meyer Burnett, and they were talking about the Dark Phoenix movie.
Uh-oh.
Well, you know, a lot has been said about the Dark Phoenix movie. John Campea really, he wants to stress, you can't always trust these pre-screenings, these critic screenings, because they're not always, you know, they don't always give you an accurate representation. You don't know who's watching these pre-screenings.
Sure, and you also don't know what they're going to change. I mean, that's what pre-screenings are for, right?
Yeah, that's very, very true. Well, he was speaking to a friend of his, somebody who works very closely in the Dark Phoenix production, and he said 2 words, John. It's terrible.
Oh, no.
He didn't ask for any details of why it's bad, but he was speaking to his co-host, Robert Meyer Burnett, a guy who is very much in the movie business. He's a producer, director, special effects guy.
Very much in the know.
He spoke to one of his people who was really into the production, and he had a long list, pretty much echoing what John heard. Lots of reasons why the movie is just not good.
Oh, no.
The biggest thing that I heard was that they're not doing what everybody thought they were going to be doing, and expanding the Dark Phoenix saga like it is in the comic books.
Sure.
they said that it's really just sort of a redo of what they did in X3.
What?
Kind of just simplifying the story, making it very earthbound. Like, everybody wanted to see a lot of space stuff.
Yeah,
Lalandra
of
and the
course.
Shi'ar and, like, all these crazy space stuff. Apparently, it's not going to be that.
What
It's going to be
the
very
heck,
much
man?
grounded in Earth. You'd think Fox would have learned their lesson.
You right? I mean, I was nervous when they came out with the X-Men First Class and all that. It's like, oh my gosh, we're rehashing this again. But those were great movies, and so I was excited to see what they were going to do with Dark Phoenix. But now you just ruined my excitement level.
I know. Apparently, it's going to be the just sort of a retelling of what we've already seen. The thing that fans really, really hated, the Dark Phoenix storyline of X3. Well, after this show aired, The Weekly Hero and the John Campea Show, check it out. John was then inundated on his Twitter with other people who have seen it, and they pretty much echoed the exact same thing.
No, this is horrible news.
So, before you start leaving nasty comments, we have not seen Dark Phoenix yet, but we're
Right.
just kind of echoing what we've heard from people in the know. Doesn't look too good, Shauna.
man.
It sucks because Fox was really on a roll
I know.
with everything that
First
happened.
Class and
First
everything.
Class, Days of Future Past, everything that Deadpool was doing with the X-Men, and they were
Yeah.
really rocking with the X-Men stuff. Apparently, they're not going to end with a bang. It's going to be more of a whimper. Sad to
Oh well,
hear.
you know what? That just leaves a bigger gap for how awesome Marvel's going to treat the X-Men.
I agree.
So, or Disney, I should say.
Yeah. Still, no need to give up on the X-Men just yet. Just let them fizzle out at Fox. Let
Disney take over.
let Marvel crush it when they take the reins. So, in happier news,
What's that, Chuck?
one of my favorite years, one of my favorite movies of
Uh-huh.
2018 was Bumblebee.
I agree.
The best Transformers movie ever since
Yeah.
the first one,
Totally.
by far. Well, we were a little bit worried because when Bumblebee first came out, it premiered to not a lot of money.
Right.
It only made, I think, like maybe $40 million domestically in the
Wow.
first couple weeks.
Nowhere near its budget.
Well, typically Transformers movies make billions.
Right.
The Michael Bay Transformers movies make a ton of money, and this one didn't
gosh.
even accrue its production budget until the Chinese saw Bumblebee. They came in and crushed it. $138 million just
Oh
in
my
China.
gosh.
It opened up 2 weeks later. Well, that gave Paramount the push that they needed to officially
Yes.
announce Bumblebee 2 is happening.
Thank you, China.
Thank you, China, once again. If I had a nickel for every time I thanked China,
I'd
I'd
have
have
two
a
nickels.
ton of nickels. A statement from the people at Paramount. They said, "We had many objectives to bring a new set of families into the series, and that succeeded. In the aftermarkets, that will continue to succeed in a big way. Part of our obligation was to bring people back who had left the franchise or never experienced it, which worked really well. We are finding our way. Our intention was we wanted to please our core fans, but also bring a new audience."
That's exactly what they
Exactly right.
did. Exactly.
New set of families into the series, bringing people back who had left the franchise. That was a big part. People were not really happy with Transformers.
Right. Like diehard fans like us, or people who are fans of the cartoon and the toys back in the 80s, we came back. I left a while ago. I left after Transformers 2.
Yeah. A lot of people did. And it just
Yeah.
got worse and worse and worse. And I think what made this movie work so well, if you haven't seen Bumblebee, we implore you to check it out.
absolutely.
What worked is they simplified the whole thing. It was just a girl and her car.
That was so cool.
Like, just keep it simple. It's-
And what a girl.
Yeah. Oh my God. Steinfeld, Haley Steinfeld, I think
yeah.
her name is. She absolutely crushed it. Travis Knight, amazing director, really kind of brought it down. It was a much smaller budget. It was a $100 million budget as opposed to a $250 million
Sure.
budget. They kept it simple, and that totally worked. And setting it in the 80s,
Uh-huh.
another little great
Yeah.
idea. It just made the movie so much fun. They kept it simple. Yeah. So, will Haley Steinfeld return, and will Travis Knight return to direct?
I hope so.
I hope Haley does. But, at the end of the movie, slight spoiler alert if you haven't seen Bumblebee, Haley's character pretty much says goodbye to Bumblebee.
Yeah, but that doesn't always mean goodbye. I mean, maybe Bumblebee goes out and finds Optimus Prime, and then they come back.
Ooh. Which they kind of hinted at the
Yeah.
end of the movie.
Like he's-
The
he's
VW
zoomed
Bug
in.
started following this tractor trailer down
Yep.
the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge.
That's
and that's
right.
kind of how it ended. So, is part 2 going to be Bumblebee 2, or are they going to do like a Civil War kind of thing? where they
Huh.
make maybe number
Question.
2 is Optimus and Bumblebee. Bumblebee and Optimus. Optimus and
Ooh,
Bumblebee.
That's cool. I like that idea.
Let it be a team up.
That'd be awesome.
Really
Oh,
simple.
So many ideas.
I know. That'd be badass.
Oh, man, I can't wait. That's gonna be great.
So get excited. This was by far the best news I heard all week. Bumblebee 2. It's happening. Thank
Sweet.
God, because I was worried.
Again, thank you, China. That's 3 nickels.
Thanks, China. much love here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an interesting segue into our next segment. 2018 was an amazing year for movies.
No kidding.
We saw some of the best comic book movies ever.
Yep.
We saw some of the best documentaries, some of the, by far one of the best animated features of all time.
Absolutely.
With Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Well, the Academy Awards, they rolled out their nominations. Black Panther, the first ever comic book movie to be nominated for Best Picture. That's a
Wow.
big achievement. There's
Not
a lot of
agree with
debate
that, but-
whether or not it's quite deserved, but we're not going to get into that just yet. We're going to get into the snubs. These are the movies we think totally got the shaft this year
Big
with
time.
the Oscar nominations. There's a lot. I got quite a few. I just want to name just a couple.
Yeah.
The ones that I think are the big ones. Sean, I'm going to let you go first because I know you have a lot to say
I-
about one snub in particular.
I am not an angry person at heart, but I would be lying if I said I was not pissed to the brim when I heard that Won't You Be My Neighbor did not get nominated for Best Documentary.
Dagger through the heart.
Oh my God, are you serious? Like, I think that should be in the Best Picture
I
category, let
completely
alone
agree.
Best Documentary. And then the fact that Black Panther got nominated for Best Picture over Won't You Be My Neighbor, I'm so angry.
Yeah.
My soul is burning.
Really? I mean, Won't You Be My Neighbor was one of my favorite movies of the entire year. That
Agreed.
movie was so emotional, so positive, so uplifting, and it was so successful.
Yeah.
I mean, it started on like 60 theaters. By the time it ended its run,
It-
it was in like 3,000 theaters
It was the
worldwide.
highest grossing documentary of 2018.
Yeah.
$22 million.
$22 million
Yeah.
for a movie that probably cost $1 million to
Yep.
make.
And you know what's interesting is half of the documentaries only premiered in 6 locations.
Wow.
So what does that tell you? I think it tells you that the Academy is a little bit snobby and they just want to be pretentious and not give light to something that was successful in the documentary category.
Well, I mean, if you think back in years past with movies like that hamburger movie,
Yeah,
the Big Mac movie,
Super Size Me.
Super Size Me,
Yeah.
the Al Gore movie about
That's true too.
the end of the world.
Yeah.
Those won. They at least got nominated.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Why can't you give it to Fred Rogers?
I don't know. I guess the director or writer or somebody must have done something bad to the Academy.
That was
I
an
don't
absolute.
know.
That was an absolute heartbreaker.
That was horrible.
If you haven't seen Won't You Be My Neighbor, get your butt down to the Red Box and pick it up. Find
Yep.
it on Netflix.
Actually, it dropped on HBO at the day
Oh, sweet.
after they had the Oscar nominations. I
Really?
think they thought they were going to get a nomination. They didn't.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
you can see
that's
Won't
an
You Be My
absolute
Neighbor on
shocker.
HBO.
Big shocker for me. And
What
one
was
of my
that?
favorite categories of the Oscars, of course, I'm talking about original song.
Mm-hmm.
How did Deadpool 2's theme Ashes not get a nomination?
Right? Celine Dion
Celine
got
Dion.
snubbed.
That song. Was a fantastic song.
I know.
Amazingly heartfelt, beautiful song. Wonderful video, by the way. I
Yeah.
saw the music video for Ashes. But that song perfectly set the tone for that film. Every time
Absolutely.
you'd see Wade go into the afterlife and they'd start playing that song, when you hear it in the opening credits and you hear it in the closing credits,
Yep.
fantastic song, Ashes by Celine Dion.
And it's Celine Dion, people.
And it's
Serious.
Deadpool.
Yeah, and Deadpool. Come on.
That really shocked me.
That shocked me,
And I'm not
too.
even joking. That song
Yeah.
was so good. I know they were up against some pretty heavy hitters. Kendrick
but-
Lamar's theme for Black Panther.
Yeah.
Obviously,
The Stars Born.
Stars
song.
Born.
Yeah,
That's gonna
that's
give
shallow.
Lady Gaga
Yeah.
the Oscar right now. But how do you not nominate Celine Dion for
I
Ashes?
know.
That song was great. A couple others, guys. I was really shocked that A Quiet Place did not get
Nothing.
any major awards. It
Yeah.
only got technical awards.
Right, especially following last year's Get Out with all the nominations that Get Out got. I mean, Quiet Place has the very same feel,
Yeah.
but no.
One of my
nothing.
favorite movies of the
Yep.
whole year was A Quiet Place, and it only got. Ironically, it got sound mixing for a movie that's totally
sound.
silent. The nomination you give it is for sound mixing.
That is ironic.
I mean, give them original screenplay. I mean,
Yeah.
it was an amazingly original idea.
Again, just like Get Out, I keep comparing it to that last year. I feel like it's in the same caliber, if not, well, definitely in the same caliber.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of Quiet Place, Emily Blunt totally snubbed
Yeah.
both for Mary Poppins and Quiet Place. I didn't see Mary Poppins, but I hear she really carried the whole film on her umbrella
Yep.
all by herself, and she crushed it in A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
0 acting nods for Emily Blunt.
Nothing.
That was a shocker. Bradley Cooper didn't get nominated as a director.
And A Star is Born is one of the top movies, like getting the most nominations at the Oscars
Yeah.
this year, and he didn't get the Best Director nod. It's
That
included in
really
Best
shocked me.
Picture.
It reminds me a lot of
Ben Affleck.
Argo.
Yep.
Yeah,
I was
when
just
Ben
gonna say
Affleck,
the
the
same
movie
thing.
gets nominated. I think it's only happened like 5 times in history
Yeah.
where the movie gets nominated,
And
but
the
the
director
director
does
doesn't.
not. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that was a shocker. I was kind of surprised. Hereditary, killer horror movie.
Yeah.
Toni Collette absolutely crushed it
Yep.
in her role in that film. She didn't get an acting nod. That kind of shocked me. Obviously that's not really an Academy style movie.
Yeah, but
It's really kind of a hardcore dark horror.
Right.
Dealt with a lot of religious subject matter that maybe the Oscars don't
Didn't
really want
wanna
to
touch.
highlight. But Toni Collette crushed it.
I know. Can we just boycott the Oscars this year?
We can. They have no host. I mean, they're
That's
going
right. They
hostless.
still don't have a host.
They're going to go
Ah,
viewerless. It's up to
geez.
Chuckload of Comics. I was a little surprised that John David Washington didn't get a nomination for Black Klansman. Black Klansman got tons of nominations.
Right, which actually
Kylo Ren
surprised
got a
me.
nomination
Yeah.
for a supporting actor, but you
Kylo
didn't give
Ren.
it. You didn't give it to John David Washington.
Right.
He crushed it in that
Yeah,
movie.
he did.
He brought his best Denzel Washington impression. His father.
And I'm kind of a little surprised at that one. I mean, I loved it. Don't get me wrong. It was a great movie, but I don't think it deserves to be in the Best Picture category.
Best Picture. Spike Lee got directing
Yeah.
nod.
Unbelievable.
Kylo Ren got a supporting actor nod, which I love.
Yeah, that is cool.
So a lot of big snubs, guys. Let us know what you think. Leave us a comment. Let us know if you think we're totally missing the mark on any of these, or if we missed anything.
Yep.
But anyway, I'm still going to watch the Academy Awards because I'm hoping to
Yeah,
see
I
a
know.
trailer for Endgame.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
No, that's what we're watching the Super Bowl for.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I got to watch the Super Bowl.
Yeah, there
jeez.
might be some cool movie trailers in there.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show with our C2E2 update. C2E2 coming to McCormick Place March 22nd through the 24th. Get excited. We're a mere 7 weeks away,
Oh my
8 weeks away from
gosh,
C2E2.
less than 2 months.
Big announcement. This one totally came under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why the people at C2E2 didn't announce this. Scream it from the rafters. E.G. Daily, Elizabeth Daily, 80s. She encapsulated everything about the 80s.
Right?
Singer, actress, songwriter. Featured in the movie Better Off Dead, Summer School. Her song One Way Love from Better Off Dead, absolutely love it. She was Dottie in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh my gosh.
Forget Debbie Gibson.
Right?
Forget Tiffany. E.G. Daily was the 80s in my mind.
I think Chuck has got a little crush over here.
Weird thing to say in front of your wife, but I had a little bit of a crush on her back in the 80s. She is
Aw.
awesome. An amazing singer. She had a voice like nobody else.
Yep.
If you are not a fan or if you've never listened to any of her work back in the 80s, she's still working today, but check out some of her songs from the 80s, man.
That's
Such an
awesome.
original voice. Such an amazing actress. She's coming to C2E2.
So cool.
Ms. Daly, if you're watching this, we would love
Yes.
to sit down with you at the Chuckload of Comics booth. We are at booth 1876.
That's right.
We would love to have an interview with you because we're massive fans. We just want to gush over you. So hit us up
Yeah.
on Twitter. Find us at chuckloadofcomics.com.
That's right. And if you, John Cusack lives in Chicago, so if you want to hit him up too.
John, if you're watching this, because I know you're a loyal fan and subscriber of Chuckload of
That's
Comics,
right.
we would love to do a Better Off Dead reunion with the two of you at the Chuckload of Comics booth.
That sounds amazing.
Fans, let's make it happen.
That's right.
Leave it in the
Got this.
comments, guys. Let's have a Better Off Dead reunion at the Chuckload of Comics booth 1876, March 22nd through the 24th at C2E2, the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo.
Come on.
Nailed it. Well, that's our show, guys. Let us know what you think in the comments of any of the topics that we hit. The Dark Phoenix, maybe not so good. Bumblebee 2 is happening.
Yay!
And the Oscar snubs, man. What a bummer.
What a bummer.
So join us here next Sunday at youtube.com/chuckloadofcomics or chuckloadofcomics.com. Weekly nerd news, comic book reviews, movie talk, everything happening in the world of fandom every single Sunday.
Yes.
Click that subscribe button, join the Chuckload of Comics family, and we will see you here next week. Have a fantastic week.